Breath of the Wild has a lot of shrines. Short shrines, tall shrines, big shrines, small shrines, hot shrines, cold shrines, great shrines, and really bad shrines. Including the Champions Ballads DLC, there are 136 of them dotted around Hyrule, each a mini dungeon rewarding Link with a Spirit Orb or Champion's Emblem. 2 weeks ago, I went through and gave my opinions on every main dungeon in the 3D Zelda games, ranking them on a tier list between D and S, with the exception of the Ancient Shrines. So today, let's rank them. I'll place the shrines on a tier list just like the main dungeons, but instead of going through them in order and placing them where I think they fit, I'll run through from my absolute least favourite right up to what I think is the best shrine in the game. I'll break this massive list up into tiers though, from D tier right through to S, with the shrines ordered within tiers. It goes without saying, but like with the dungeon ranking video, this list is purely based on my experiences with the game. I'm ranking the shrines on how much I enjoy them. Your list is probably very different. Let me know in the comments what you agree and disagree with. Another thing to note is that there are a pretty substantial number of blessing shrines, ones that don't offer any challenge, where the monk simply states that reaching the shrine was a trial in itself. And there are others that do contain a challenge but still require Link to solve an overworld puzzle to access. So I will be taking into account the actual overworld challenges involved in accessing the shrines as well as what's inside, rather than solely ranking based just on the shrine interiors themselves, though I might skip mentioning this if it doesn't affect the placement of the shrine. Without further ado, let's get started. In D tier, I'll place shrines that I really don't enjoy playing through, whether that's because of an annoying mechanic or because it's just underwhelming in some way. This is probably the placement you were expecting. The Mayam Agana Apparatus Shrine is probably Breath of the Wild's most infamous motion control puzzle. Outside of using it to aim, I'm not the biggest fan of motion controls in the game at all, and this shrine showcases it at its worst. The entire premise is to guide an orb through a maze, which is just infuriating, and every time I play through it, I just skip the whole thing instead by turning the maze upside down and using the other side. There's nothing to this shrine except this annoying motion control puzzle, so it's ending up in D tier. You might notice a trend here. For the most part, I really don't like the apparatus shrines. The first half of the Z Kasho shrine is pretty fun. Using motion controls to make a path along a spiky block, then dodging laser beams is fun enough, but then we get to the final challenge to open the monk's room, a motion control puzzle where a box must be rotated to land 3 orbs in the right slots. It's incredibly frustrating. A tiny movement of your wrist can send the orbs flying off in the wrong direction, and it's a huge letdown at the end of what started out looking like a promising shrine. Also incredibly frustrating is Tempered Power, the ancient Sheikah's take on golf. Link needs to use stasis on an orb, add momentum by hitting it, then watch it go. Absolutely anywhere but in the hole. I actually really like the concept for this shrine. Playing Sheikah golf should be awesome, but it just isn't. Most of the challenge here comes with remembering how many swings you loaded the ball with last time and where it went, so you can adjust for the next attempt. It's difficult, but it is doable, but there's another hole. Thankfully, the second challenge is optional, only rewarding Link with a giant ancient core, but this one's even worse. There are obstacles in the ball's path, and the hole is an awkward distance from the starting point. Like I said, I feel like it's a cool concept, and this shrine could have and should have been fun, but it really isn't. Blessing shrines are fine when it feels like you've already completed the puzzle in order to access it, like at the end of the labyrinths. However, there are some blessing shrines that I really think should have been actual shrines instead, like the Secret of the Cedars. Clavia in Hateno village hints at the location of a shrine on Mount Lanayru, which Link can find in a small cave behind a bombable wall. But it's just a blessing, there's no actual challenge here, even though we didn't really complete a challenge to get here. Even without the clues given to us for the shrine quest, it's no more well hidden than some other proper shrines, so I'll put Tano OR in D. Zuna Kai's blessing is another underwhelming one, the target of the shrine quest, the Skull's Eye. Link just has to climb the rocky pillar that makes up one of the eyes of Skull Lake to reach the shrine, which presents no challenge. It's the same situation for Marg Nora's blessing, it's just hidden in a little cave near the Seren stable. On a cliff face in the Gerudo Highlands there's a strange marking, depicting winged white arrows and 4 lightning bolts. It's not very cryptic though, shooting the center with a shock arrow summons Shrine Kiha Yug, another disappointing blessing. Korok Forest is home to 4 shrines, 3 of which make up the Korok Trials. One of these trials involves following the Korok Oki as he makes his way towards the Dark Choker Shrine by himself. However, Link can't let Oki know that he's being followed, otherwise he'll get annoyed and restart his whole journey. Oki gets scared and runs backwards at one point, and towards the end encounters a group of wolves, which Link needs to deal with without being noticed. This is easier said than done. Oki can spot Link from what seems like miles away, and hears even the slightest noise he makes, making the whole ordeal really annoying to deal with. Under a Red Moon is one of the most infamous shrine quests in the game. Link needs to stand on a pedestal, naked, during a blood moon. Only problem is that blood moons are pretty much random, meaning that to complete the quest, it's best to either set up a fire and camp out until a blood moon happens, or just continue the game normally until you see the signs of a blood moon, then teleport over and sprint to the pedestal. This results in Shrine Mija Roki, a modest test of strength, which is a lot more fun than a blessing shrine, but the tedious nature of the quest marks it down. In C tier, I'll place the shrines that still aren't particularly satisfying in my opinion, but are clearly better than those in D. If Tempered Power is a Sheikah version of golf, Katosa Org would be Sheikah Mini Golf. It's another motion control shrine, this time putting. It's nowhere near as rage-inducing as some of the other apparatus shrines. In fact, it's so easy. Swing the club to knock the orb in a straight line into the hole. The bonus challenge, too, isn't too bad. The ball must be hit at an angle to ride up a slope on its way to the hole. It's miles better than some other apparatus shrines, and I'm only ranking it this low because I felt there should be more to it, and it should be more difficult. The Wrist Peninsula is a long, winding sandbank crawling with enemies. On the shore, surrounded by ancient Hylian ruins, is a Sheikah orb, which must be carried the whole way along the peninsula to the pedestal in the center, which calls up Ritag Zumo's blessing. Kima Zeus is a delayed puzzle, a very simple shrine where an electrified ball is being bounced between 2 springs. Link needs to find a way to get this ball down, like by using stasis, then use it to flip switches opening both the monk's room and the bonus chest. Drop and Rise is also incredibly simple. Use a giant metal box to jump Link off a set of scales and up to the exit. There are a few shrines that make use of scales, but this one's definitely the least exciting. A Weighty Decision once again focuses on scales, weighing down one side with a heavy object like a metal box or chest in order to reach higher ground on the other. There's a slightly out-of-the-box puzzle with the second set, where the player needs to remember a metal chest in the previous room and use it to manipulate the scales, but it's otherwise very brief and simple. Yet another scales shrine here, a balanced approach is also designed around using metal objects to raise and lower scales. Except for a nasty spiked ceiling above one of the scales, meaning Link needs to time his jump off before he's pulverized, there's not a lot to this one. The Zalta Wa Shrine, 2 orbs to guide you, is incredibly straightforward. Throw a ball into a pedestal to unlock another ball, throw that into a pedestal to activate a sliding platform, then use a spring to jump into it and walk to the monk. It's not challenging at all and isn't particularly inventive. Sunken Scoop is a magnesis-centered shrine where Link lifts floating orbs out of pools of water, using a metal cup to scoop them into their pedestals. There are 2 separate puzzles, both based around the same idea, which is underwhelming at best and infuriating at worst. Collected Soul is the first of 4 shrines explored during the one-hit obliterator trial as part of the Champion's Ballad DLC. Link needs to make his way across the Great Plateau once again, wielding a weapon that allows him to kill in one hit, but also die in one hit. Taking out groups of enemies in 4 spots on the plateau summons shrines, challenges he must complete while still locked into only using the one-hit obliterator, reduced to a quarter heart. Despite this extra challenge, Collected Soul still isn't great. Using Magnesis, Link needs to catch Sheikah orbs as they roll off a platform. The larger one used to unlock a chest, and the smaller, more difficult orb to catch used to open the monk's door. It's pretty tedious, and is by far my least favourite of the DLC shrines on the plateau. Another early game shrine, The Wind Guides You, has Link use the wind generated by fans to paraglide across bottomless pits. There are no puzzles here, just gliding around to grab the chests and to get to the monk. In drawing parabolas, Link needs to yet again move an orb to a pedestal, this time using springs to throw it between raised platforms. One platform needs rotating, and some boxes need to be destroyed, but there's not much else to it. Another throwing orbs shrine with impeccable timing, where Link needs to time shots with springs to land 2 orbs in their pedestals. 3 boxes is, unsurprisingly, about 3 boxes. There's a giant pressure pad in the centre, which needs to be weighed down by 3 metal chests found around the room in order to reach the monk. There really isn't much to shields from water. Use Cryonis to climb a tiny waterfall, fight a few mini guardians, then drift along on a raft and glide to the finish. There's a little extra challenge involved in stopping the raft to grab the bonus chest, but it's still not enough to bump this higher up the list. Shrine K-No is right next to the Gerudo Canyon stable, and serves as an introduction to electricity puzzles, which almost every shrine in the Gerudo region features. As you'd expect, it's really simple, and just teaches the player how electricity works and how metal objects can be used to extend electrical currents around shrines to open gates and doors. Shatter the Heavens has a very simple setup. There's a bomb hopper under a stone block. Detonating the bomb causes the block to fly upwards, but the ceiling is blocked by cracked stone, so Link needs to place one bomb on the block and another underneath it, so he can detonate both and shatter the heavens to reach the monk and the chest at the top, making it a very quick, very easy shrine. Shift and Lock shows you the way to the monk right away, behind a locked door. The small key is also right in front of you, in a chest on a platform, but it's blocked by a metal box. The solution is to use Magnesis to shift the block up its rail, then Stasis to lock it in place, giving Link time to grab the key and finish the shrine. 5 Flames requires rotating a floating cube in order to light 5 torches. However, one of the cube's faces has a water spout, and the cube itself floats above a pool of water, meaning the player needs to be careful not to extinguish any of the flames they've already lit. Fateful Stars is found just behind the Great Deku Tree, and is a pretty simple puzzle, requiring Link to read the constellations on the far wall and count how many there are of each, then give his answer by placing orbs in their slots. Lano Ku's Blessing isn't the result of a shrine quest, it's just found in the overworld like some of the lowest ranking shrines on my list, but it's found in a little cave just off a freezing river, which will probably kill Link if he tries to swim across it, so actually reaching the shrine is quite a cool puzzle. One of the best solutions being to chop down a nearby tree and ride its trunk along the river to reach it. To Quomo's Blessing is found under the remains of the mysterious Hebra Leviathan. To access the cave, Link needs to roll giant snowballs down at the stone doors, which is a fun puzzle, but again I'd have liked a bit more. After sneaking back in through the Yiga clan hideout, stealing an ancient orb and throwing it down the bottomless pit where Koga is fought, Link finds the Kahiro no Shrine, inside the box. As the title suggests, the main puzzle is working out what's inside the box, using motion controls to count the amount of each coloured ball inside, then placing counters in the right place to open the gate. It's a very simple puzzle, and while the second puzzle for the chest is quite cool, you need to use magnesis to open the box and then place the 3 magnetic balls in pedestals, it's not enough to rank inside the box any higher. The Quokka Nata shrine is found by Kalora Lake, an area clouded by an endless storm. Cass, found nearby, gives Link a riddle to uncover it, and by using a metal object to attract lightning to the rock, he can access Quokka Nata's blessing. It's a nice little overworld puzzle, but it's a shame it's only a blessing shrine. The Ceremonial Song is a shrine quest in Zora's Domain, where Link needs to find the lost ceremonial trident and follow the instructions in the song, jumping off the Veiled Falls to summon a blessing shrine. Atop the Dueling Peaks mountains are the Twin Memories shrines. Both Shiva Nir and Shiva Nath are solved in tandem. Their layouts are almost identical. Their monks are sealed behind doors that only open if the orbs on the floor are positioned correctly. The solution is hinted at by a sign in each shrine. The orbs in Shiva Nir are laid out exactly as the solution for Shiva Nath, and vice versa. Linking 2 shrines together is a really cool idea for a puzzle, but in execution it's a little tedious. Shrine Shai Yuto is built around stone seesaws, which tilt when the raised side is weighed down. At first, it seems incredibly easy. Link can use stasis to easily cross the first 2, but to get to the monk, he has to work out how to climb 2 seesaws, and obviously can't stasis both at the same time. There are multiple ways to solve this, like using a metal chest to weigh down the end of the first and freezing the second with stasis. Build and Release is another stasis-themed shrine, starting out with stopping a cog to guide a stone ball into a lever. There's an optional chest locked behind a gate which opens if Link moves another stone ball onto a switch, again probably using stasis, and a final puzzle where a huge stone slab must be knocked over to press a lever and unlock the monk's room. The Magnesis Trial is the first shrine Link will encounter in the game, and so functions as a tutorial. Link downloads the Magnesis rune and uses it to work through the very short dungeon, moving metal plates, breaking down walls, and throwing open giant doors. There's nothing bad about it, but as the very first shrine, it's incredibly easy, so I'll put it here. In fact, I'll place all of the 4 tutorial shrines here in C. Jabaij, the Bomb Trial, again just a tutorial for the Sheikah rune, teaching Link how to blow up walls and how to use springs to throw bombs around. Kenamut, the Cryonis Trial, showing how to climb Cryonis blocks and how to use them to open doors and prop up ramps, and Owadayim, the Stasis Trial, showing how stasis can be used not only to stop moving objects, but to add momentum to stationary objects too heavy to normally move. All of these beginner shrines work brilliantly for their purpose, to teach the player the ropes of the game's main runes, and as you'd expect, they're all among the simplest shrines in the game. The shrine at Rito Village is Windmills, a puzzle where the monk's door will only open when all of the windmills are moving at once. To do this, Link needs to rotate the fans and find a setup where they cover all windmills at the same time. There's an optional extra puzzle round the back, again involving rotating a fan round to spin a windmill to open the door to the chest. Watch Out for the Flowers is an overworld shrine quest. The Healer Rao shrine is at the centre of a flower maze. Link doesn't usually care too much for respecting people's gardens, but this is an exception. The garden is guarded by Flower Blight Ganon, who will absolutely deck Link if he tramples on her arrangements. Inside is a very simple shrine, Drifting, where Link needs to cross small rivers, on which wooden rafts and explosive barrels float. There's really no challenge at all here, but the Flower Lady is iconic. Across Hyrule are 3 ancient springs, presumably the crumbling remains of springs seen during Skyward Sword. Each houses a shrine which can only be accessed once Link offers up a scale from the spring's respective dragon. The Spring of Courage is found in the eerie Zonai ruins, and reveals a blessing shrine once Link offers one of Farosh's scales. It's the most basic of the 3 spring shrines, so it's ranked the lowest, even though the area in which it is found is really cool. B tier is where I'll put average shrines, anything in the middle, neither underwhelming nor incredible. It's here that I'll rank most of the basic Test of Strength shrines. They're all fundamentally the same thing. Link enters a seemingly empty room, then a single Guardian Scout rises from a platform in the center. Minor Test of Strength shrines of course have the weakest Guardian mini-boss, and major Tests of Strength have the toughest, and some of these shrines have different layouts to one another, like shallow water to allow for cryonis, or stone pillars to hide behind, but it's not enough to rank them differently. A few of the Test of Strength shrines are the result of shrine quests. Most of these aren't important enough to change their ranking, like Sign of the Shadow, the Bird in the Mountains, and the Spring of Power, but there's two I've placed in different tiers because of their quests, like you've seen earlier with Under a Red Moon. Test of Strength shrines are individually a lot of fun, but there are 21 of them in the base game, including the Talo Naeg shrine near Kakariko village that serves as a combat tutorial, which means they do start to feel monotonous. Moving in parallel involves pressing down two switches, each angling different blocks on the far wall in order to guide two rolling balls down to their pedestals. Except for a hidden chest, there's nothing else to it. It's one of the easiest and shortest shrines in the game, but it isn't bad. The shrine quest to summon it is the Two Rings, a Cass quest where Link needs to thread an arrow through two stone rings on the West Hyrule Plains, which adds a little extra. Jolu Na's shrine is another apparatus, but it's slightly better than some of its brothers. First, it needs to be unlocked by completing the Test of Will quest, where Link proves himself to a group of Gorons by being able to outlast them on a hot plate, by eating, using heat-resistant armor or fireproof elixirs. Inside the shrine itself, there are 3 rooms. First, simply rotating a cube to charge the switch on each face with electricity, then rotating a cube with fans on 4 faces to spin 4 propellers, which requires a bit of thinking with raising and lowering platforms, then finally lighting the torches on each face of the last cube and avoiding the water spouts which extinguish them. It's still a motion control shrine, so I don't love it, but there's a lot more to it than some of the others, and the Goron challenge to open the shrine itself isn't bad. Southeast of Lanayru Tower, we again find Cass singing a riddle. To unlock the shrine, find a beast with a crown of bone and mount it upon its throne. The solution here is to find and sneak up on a stag, mount it, and park it on the Sheikah pedestal. The resulting shrine is a puzzle that can be solved in quite a few different ways. There's a switch that causes a block to rotate around the room, allowing Link to press down a pressure plate and reach the monk. Again, like with a few others, the shrine itself isn't anything particularly special, but having a neat little overworld quest tied to it bumps it up. Passing of the Gates is a beginner shrine, found right next to the outskirt stable in the shadow of the Great Plateau. The doorway in the center and the walls surrounding it will turn 90 degrees if the switch is hit, which at first lets Link throw a ball into a pedestal, which activates a spring, then rotate the walls back mid-jump to land on the roof and make his way to the monk. Being so close to the plateau, it's very easy, but it's a neatly designed puzzle. The 7 heroines are ancient statues in the Gerudo Desert. Each statue has a symbol pedestal at its base, and around the area 7 coloured orbs are scattered, which must be placed in the correct slots to open up Korsh Ohu's blessing. It's a really simple puzzle, but I love the mystery and the world building of the heroines. Rona Kachta is quite similar, in that it's a blessing shrine found at the heart of an ancient ruin, the Forgotten Temple. Though it's just a blessing without any significant puzzle involved, there is the challenge of actually reaching it. The Forgotten Temple is littered with half-buried guardians. It's one of the most atmospheric locations in the game, and just for how terrifying it is to have 1,000 guardians all taking aim at you at once, it's ranked in B. West of Gerudo Town, in the deep desert, Link can find 4 unlit torches. Lighting them reveals the Tho Keu Blessing Shrine, which is a very simple puzzle, but the area in which the torches are found is home to a Molduga. These overworld boss fights are always a lot of fun, and it adds a decent challenge to uncovering the shrine. The Test of Wood is another of the Korok trials. This time, Link needs to reach the shrine by following a path full of enemies while locked into only using the Forest Dweller's equipment. It can be quite difficult, especially with the fire-based enemies which can burn your gear, which automatically fails the quest. The shrine quest Guardian Slideshow involves showing pictures of various Guardian models to Looney, the aptly named Guardian fanatic on Puffer Beach. She's fallen in love with a Sheikah orb, which she's named Roscoe, and won't give it up until Link shows the photos. Completing the quest results in a modest test of strength shrine, which as always is more fun than a blessing shrine, and Looney's brilliantly weird. Gut Check Rock is found just northeast of Death Mountain. It's a sheer pillar of stone, and sitting on top is the Gorey Tor Shrine, though it's blocked off by a Goron. Link needs to earn the right to enter it by completing the Gut Check challenge, climbing up the side of the cliff within the time limit, collecting rupees as he goes. It's a neat little challenge, and anything involving Gorons is always fun. The Mise Suma Shrine in the Gerudo Desert is blocked by Pocky, who has collapsed out of dehydration. Her dying wish is for one more sip of a Noble Pursuit, her favourite drink, so Link heads to the Noble Canteen in Gerudo Town. They're out of ice though, because of course they are, so Link needs to head to the Northern Ice House and transport a block of ice back to Furosa, avoiding enemies and the burning desert sun, then tell Pocky about the drink, causing her to sprint back to town. This allows access to a blessing shrine. It's a decent enough little side quest with a lot of character. Greedy Hill is one giant slope with all sorts of hazards rolling down towards you. It gets its name from the fact that rupees roll down the slope as well, so Link needs to choose between prioritizing safety and how much money he wants to get out of it. The shrine itself is found in the blocked off Gorko Tunnel, which can be broken into by Gongoron after being fed a rock roast in the shrine quest A Brother's Roast. Timing is critical as Link stand on switches to tilt platforms and roll orbs into their slots to progress. There are 3 separate puzzles, each progressively more difficult and requiring increasingly precise timing, with the final one requiring him to step off early to jump the orb across a gap. Speed of Light has a laser beam in the centre, which can be rotated, with a delay, by spinning a gear near the entrance. The door to the other side of the shrine is far too high up for Link to reach, but if the laser triggers a switch, the shrine fills with water, allowing him to swim across. However, if the water level is raised, then he can't solve the puzzle on the other side of the door that opens the way to the monk, meaning he needs to spin the gear then take advantage of the delay, getting to the other side before the spinning laser hits the switch again and lowers the water behind him. Shrine Raka Zunzo only reveals itself after Link wins the Sand Seal race in the Gerudo Desert, surfing on his shield and clinging on for dear life in order to beat the current world record of 1 minute and 30 seconds. Sand Seal racing is always fun, and this shrine quest is no different. Red Giveaway's monk is sat on a platform high above the rest of the shrine, and can only be accessed by a pillar that raises when an orb drops into its pedestal. However, Link can't just throw it in because then the pillar raises up without him, so instead he needs to use the gusts of wind around the room to carry the ball, or just use stasis to skip the whole thing. Directing the Wind is very similar to Red Giveaway, and features the same puzzle, though this time Link needs to use metal cubes to block certain winds to guide the orb. It's slightly better as there's a little bit more to the puzzle, but not enough to place it in the next tier. Path of Hidden Winds involves gliding on updrafts across floating platforms. It's very straightforward until the final puzzle, where the shrine gets its name, a hidden updraft tucked inside a platform that sends Link to the finish. Bravery's Grasp's central puzzle is a switch that raises and lowers all of the moving platforms in the shrine at once, including those that make up a staircase leading to the monk. At first, it seems like there's a moving platform on the floor that's not doing anything, and there's no way that Link can hit the switch enough times to climb up the staircase, but he can pick up a laser beam block and place it on the moving platform, where it will flip the switch every few seconds and allow him to reach the end, which is really satisfying. In quick thinking, Link carries barrels across short moving platforms while avoiding obstacles in order to weigh down 2 switches. That's it. However, the shrine only appears after the completion of a quest in the overworld, the Fragmented Monument. At the Palmyray ruins, Link finds Gurini puzzling over a broken Zonai monument, who asks Link to search for the missing pieces. Taking photos of each, then returning, results in Gurini deciphering a riddle, which in turn unlocks the shrine. Little quests like this help make the shrines feel more organic to Breath of the Wild's world. Like they really are ancient structures built long ago, studied and marvelled at by modern Hylians, and so though neither the quest nor the shrine itself are particularly challenging, it's enough to rank it fairly highly. The current solution has Link use electricity to turn cogs which open doors. The first room is very simple, but the second requires him to activate a moving platform to climb onto a pathway crawling with Guardian scouts, whose lasers can activate switches to throw Link off. The door to the monk is missing a cog, which can be found in another room, locked behind another small puzzle. Metal doors open the way makes the player rethink how they can use the giant metal doors that Link can open with magnesis. The first set of doors lead through into a large room with 4 platforms, with the monk on a ledge just out of reach. The solution is pretty cool. Bomb a wall so that one of the doors becomes loose, then use it as a bridge to cross the platforms and climb up to where the monk waits to complete the shrine. Melting Ice Hazard involves carrying a block of ice along a pathway around the shrine's edge, avoiding flamethrowers and pits of lava that would melt it. It's quite creative and does require a bit of thinking on how to get the ice through the obstacles, but it's somewhat forgettable, keeping it from ranking any higher. Stalled Flight has a very simple layout. A giant spring bounces a stone cube with an electric crystal on the top. So when the cube reaches the top of its jump, it touches a switch and the current opens the monk's door, which closes again when it falls. The solution here isn't as simple as just bouncing up on the spring. Link needs to use stasis to climb onto the cube, then again to freeze it at the top to give enough time to get through the gate, which is a pretty great use of the rune. Synced Swing is built around the Magnesis rune, which is used to set swinging platforms in motion, move spiked balls out of your way, and build a ladder out of metal blocks. It's a floating obstacle course shrine, which for the most part I like, but this one's not too memorable. Aim for the Moment is an archery challenge. First, knocking a giant orb from the air to roll it into a pedestal, then jumping from the spring it activates to snipe a switch to open the monk's door. It's really fun, but far too short to rank any higher. In Pushing Power, a giant orb needs to be guided down a pinball-like water slide and into its pedestal near the monk's door. There are multiple ways to do this, like pushing it off the starting point with Cryonis and then knocking it in with Stasis. Electric Path involves carrying an electrified cube through a floating obstacle course, using it to activate switches and kill guardians. It's very simple and the solution is obvious, but it's pretty enjoyable. Power of Reach centers around the theme of burning things. It's very short, but there are a couple of cool puzzles, like burning some foliage to reveal a secret passageway through a wall, or burning barrels that are weighing down a switch to open a door. Continuing the fire theme with Power of Fire, a shrine with very similar puzzles which involve shooting down lanterns to set fire to leaves. There's a mini guardian fight here, and a puzzle where boxes must be burned to drop a stone slab onto a switch, but overall, like Power of Reach, it's very straightforward. It's incredibly obvious wherever you see foliage to shoot down the lanterns above it, and so the shrine basically completes itself. In Metal Connections, you build towers out of metal boxes. What more could you want? Tandem is a cool showcase of the Stasis rune, where the main puzzle is dropping stone balls onto levers. The first is held by only one rope, so you can cut it to drop the ball in the right place, but the next two are held up by two. If Link cuts one, then the other, then the ball won't fall straight down. Instead, he can stop time with stasis as he cuts the ropes, suspending the ball in midair to have it fall straight down, which is a really simple but satisfying stasis puzzle. Toto Sa is another apparatus shrine, one where Link has to build his own path across a bottomless pit with multiple motion control sections, such as rotating a block to make a bridge, rotating a staircase so that it links up, and rotating a huge uneven block so that he can cross it to get to the monk. Like Julu Na apparatus, it's still a little too heavily reliant on motion controls for my liking, but the idea is a lot of fun. Found just outside Gerudo Town, the Darko Chise shrine is the whole picture, where Link moves metal blocks and barrels with magnesis to connect various electric circuits along the floor to open multiple doors, each giving him a new object with which to extend the currents. Or, you know, you could just drop metal weapons on the floor to skip the whole puzzle. Like Power of Reach and Power of Fire, Passing the Flame is also about burning things, again setting fire to foliage to reveal secret pathways, and burning boxes to drop down ramps. I'd have placed it right alongside them if it wasn't for a little puzzle that requires Link to literally think outside the box by burning an inaccessible wooden chest that holds a small key, and then grabbing it with magnesis, which I think is just brilliant. The Melting Point is a fire and ice shrine. It gives Link a torch and then requires him to melt blocks of ice to build staircases and reach new areas, which is decent enough. It's part of Mipha's challenge in the DLC, and so involves a neat little puzzle to reach it. The G-No Shrine, On the Move, is based around conveyor belts and Sheikah orbs which Link needs to place in pedestals to open doors. The first two doors are opened by knocking orbs off conveyor belts and into the pedestals, but the third requires Link to pick up the orb and move across the belts himself, using stone blocks and the stasis rune to avoid the lasers. Metal Makes a Path is much like the Stasis Shrine from the plateau. Link needs to travel up a series of ramps, avoiding the huge spheres that roll down at him. Stone ones must be stopped with stasis, but this doesn't work for the final ramp, where countless balls roll down endlessly. Instead, Link needs to grab a metal ball with magnesis, and use it to brute force his way up to the finish. Like Passing the Flame, Swinging Flames focuses on setting fire to leaves, but there's a little more to it, like Guardian Scout fights and rolling a ball down to spin a wheel and open a gate. The shrine also only appears once Link defeats an Igneo Talus Titan boss, which is a pretty massive plus. Now we're getting up there, A tier, where I'll place shrines I think are a step above average. Secret Stairway has a straightforward goal: get to the top of the room. There's a small waterfall and two magnetic, climbable blocks on vertical rails, and a third loose block hidden on a ledge to the side. Through a mix of stasis, cryonis and magnesis, Link can build himself a climbable path up to the monk, which is a fun little challenge. Two Bombs is, you guessed it, a bomb-themed shrine. The first door is opened by timing bomb detonations as they're flung into the air by moving blocks, as is the second, though the third has a twist. A switch will either open the monk's door or raise the platforms leading to it, but not both, meaning Link needs to make use of both bomb runes to solve the puzzle. Mount Taran is home to three Hinox brothers: a red, the youngest, a blue, the middle brother, and a black, the eldest. Each wears a Sheikah orb on a rope around their necks, so Link needs to defeat the brothers or steal the orbs to summon the Tawa Jin Blessing Shrine. I love Hinox battles, so any excuse to fight them is a good thing. Horon Lagoon is home to another Cass quest, this time Master of the Wind. Link needs to bomb various rocks out in the bay to allow wind to flow through the area, eventually creating an air current on which he can glide to a pedestal on the shore, calling up the Shai Yota Blessing Shrine. On the snowy peak of Mount Grenage, Link can find a book left in the abandoned ruins of a house. The author describes that they travelled here to solve an ancient riddle. When the snowy mountain pedestal glows, cast a cold shadow onto its core. They note that at a certain time each day, the nearby pedestal glows, but they apparently ran out of food before they could solve it. By holding a snowball above his head at the right time, Link can cast a shadow and uncover the Suma-sama Blessing Shrine. I love the somewhat ominous feeling here. An abandoned ruin where a previous adventurer had given up searching for the shrine, and the puzzle itself is quite creative. The To-Yasa Shrine is found on the Thundra Plateau, a mysterious ancient Zonai monument engulfed in a never-ending thunderstorm. To uncover the shrine, Link needs to find and place the coloured orbs in their respective pedestals, which is easier said than done, considering some of the orbs aren't found on the raised plateau, so must be hurled up using stasis. This uncovers a shrine that surprisingly isn't just a blessing, like you'd expect after an overworld puzzle. It's called Buried Secrets, and is filled with cracked stones which Link needs to break with bombs to find a metal box and a big switch, pressing which opens the monk's door. The shrine itself isn't tough or memorable, but coupled with the puzzle on Thundra Plateau makes it good enough to rank fairly high. Big or Small is a DLC shrine where Link places metal cubes to connect an electric current all the way along a side wall until it opens up the monk's room. It's pretty satisfying, and if you fancy it, there's an only slightly infuriating motion control puzzle to unlock a bonus chest. However, as it is a DLC shrine, there's a great challenge involved in accessing the shrine, defeating a Moldu King, a giant version of a Molduga, which definitely bumps it up the list. The blessing shrines Tu Kalo, Kwazatoki, and Dila Marg are all found at the centre of ancient Lome labyrinths, massive mazes built from old stone. They're filled with dead ends, enemies, secrets and treasures, and are always a load of fun to explore. Shrine Barida Nag can only be accessed after learning both halves of a song from two Rito sisters, a song which describes a riddle. There's a heart-shaped hole in the Rito village pillar, so by holding a torch or lighting a fire on a Sheikah pedestal as the sun passes through, Link finds the answer to the riddle. The heart shines upon a path not whole, but a warming flame can stir its soul. It's a fantastic puzzle and one I'd fully expect to end in a blessing shrine, but it doesn't. The shrine is called Cannon because that's exactly what it's about. There's a massive cannon which Link can operate by detonating bombs, and he needs to avoid the moving obstacles to hit the target and open the door. There's an optional second cannon with a more difficult moving target to unlock the shrine's bonus chest. Trial of Second Sight is the last Korok trial we've got to mention, and it's my favourite by quite a long way. Not because it's particularly difficult, it's not really, but I like the puzzle involved. Link needs to navigate part of the Lost Woods with only one clue on how to do so. The hungry trees will show you the way. Spy their iron to win the day. By using magnesis, Link can spot trees with metal balls in their mouth and follow the path. Eventually, he finds an empty tree with a nearby sign asking him to feed it an aged shield, and by placing a nearby rusty shield in its mouth, another tree drops a treasure chest. This then needs to be taken onto a raft and fed to another tree, revealing the shrine, which is just a really cool little sequence. Moving targets is just a bigger, better version of Cannon, firing orbs at targets by using the bomb rune. There's a lot more to the game here though. Link needs to time his shots as the cannons turn and use an apparatus to angle targets. Shrine Kam Urog only appears after Link shoots the eyes of the glowing statue in an incredibly creepy graveyard. Inside, there's a massive rotating disc, and Link needs to climb up through the inside to reach the chest and the monk. Inside are platforms which rotate with the disc, and the cogs that move it, which can be frozen with stasis when platforms are positioned correctly to make a path up through the disc. It reminds me of Tick-Tock Clock from Super Mario 64. It's a cool idea and it's fun to work through. To open the monk's room in the water guides, Link needs to help a giant Sheikah orb roll down blocks on the face of a waterfall into its pedestal. Without his help, the ball just falls off, but with an inventive use of the Cryonis rune, he can build blockades and supports to create a path. Support and guidance is like a more difficult version of the water guides. There's the exact same premise, but the puzzle is a lot tougher. Again, like with most shrines, there are multiple ways to solve this, and it's every bit as satisfying as the water guides when it clicks. Cass's children play a role in the Recital at Warbler's Nest side quest, where Link needs to round them up so that they can perform. He then sends gusts of wind with the Korok leaf through a group of rocks to match the children's song, and Shrine Vu Lata rises from the ground. And it's not a blessing shrine like you'd expect, it's a full shrine, where Link climbs up the longest ladder of all time, then is dropped into a huge room with floating platforms above a pool of lava which he has to glide between to find the small key to open the monk's room. Wind Guide makes use of the Korok leaf, which Link can use to spin turbines which open doors, activate springs, and spawn floating platforms held up by little Sheikah balloons. It's quite a long shrine. There are multiple small rooms showing off the mechanics, then a huge chamber where Link jumps, glides, and floats across floating platforms to grab a small key and reach the monk, which is a lot of fun. After another great sand seal challenge in the overworld to summon up the shrine, Dual Purpose involves connecting electric currents to open doors by moving huge metal blocks. However, the metal blocks are also Link's only way of moving about in the shrine, which he can't do while they're connected to the circuit. This is a pretty fun concept, and often it's best to move across the blocks first, then connect them to open the doors. Path of Light is the shrine that appears on Mount Hylia during the Obliterator trial, and is explored in complete darkness. It's by far the easiest out of the 4 DLC shrines on the plateau, but it's not annoying like Collected Soul. Link moves past lasers, rotating spike walls, columns of flame, and finally takes on 3 Guardian Scouts at once before ascending into the light to end the shrine. Aim for Stillness is a DLC shrine themed for Revali, so Link is mostly in the air, gliding on powerful updrafts and blowing up stone walls to progress. It's a really fun concept, but it's used even better in other shrines. Block the Blaze is filled with lava and flamethrowers, which Link needs to shield himself from by using metal boxes. At one point, he reaches a set of vertical flames on a ledge, so he can't just hold a box above his head with magnesis as he has to climb. So instead, the solution is to stack 2 boxes, stasis the top one, and move the bottom crate out of the way. There's a little motion control puzzle at the end, but even that's pretty good. Stop to Start is another shrine Link explores while locked into using the one-hit Obliterator, and the game makes full use of this by packing the shrine to the brim with all sorts of spikes, touching any of which will kill Link instantly. First, he needs to build himself a bridge over a floor of moving spikes, then move through a room of turning cogs and moving conveyor belts, paraglide down past swinging spiked balls, and finally run from a moving wall of spikes along a thin pathway, avoiding and climbing over the hazards on all sides. Dying in one hit does make this shrine quite difficult, but that's why I like it. Jitan Sami's Blessing is the shrine hidden at the Spring of Wisdom on Mount Lanayru. Like the others, it's still opened up by offering a scale of the spring's dragon, but with a twist. The dragon, Nadra, is curled around the mountaintop, corrupted by Ganon's malice. This results in an awesome surprise boss battle. Link paraglides down the mountain alongside the dragon, taking shots at the eyes of malice that cover its body until it's purged of the evil, allowing him to take a scale and access the Blessing Shrine. Here we are, finally at S tier, my top 10 favourite shrines in the game. Blind Spots is more like a Super Mario World level than a Breath of the Wild shrine. Link clings to blocks moving along rails to avoid flamethrowers, spikes, to fight guardians, and eventually builds Cryonis blocks to hop up to the monk's room. It's just a really fun platforming shrine. Also part of the Obliterator trial is Ruvo Korba, a major test of strength plus. At first, it seems exactly like a regular test of strength shrine, with the obvious exception that Link can just wreck the mini-boss in one shot. However, once the gate opens, instead of the monk, there's just a switch, which lowers the platform that the Guardian Scout was raised on, allowing Link to explore the shrine's depths. Down here, he needs to work his way through tight passageways filled with guardians that can kill him instantly, grab a small key from a chest, and take out 4 guardians in a final room before the end. Letting Link explore where the guardians come from in Test of Strength shrines is such a cool twist, and being reduced to a quarter heart for the entire thing means that even basic guardian scouts are pretty terrifying. Right from the very first time Link visits Kakariko Village, there's a Sheikah orb resting on a cushion in Impa's house. It's a sacred heirloom that has been guarded for generations, and Link doesn't have the right to touch it. Later on, however, the ancient heirloom is stolen, apparently by someone who visited late at night. Lastly seems suspicious. She sneaks out of the village late at night, but isn't the culprit. Instead, Link needs to follow Dorian to the woods just north of the village, where he meets with a Yiga clansman who thanks Dorian for informing him about the heirloom. It's revealed that Dorian was once a Yiga agent, but when he tried to leave, they killed his wife and threatened his children, blackmailing him into working as a spy. Placing the orb in its pedestal only opens up a blessing shrine, but the stolen heirloom is one of my absolute favourite quests in the game. I loved trying to solve the mystery of who stole the orb that night, following different suspects around, and it all ends in a really dark, emotional character moment for Dorian that helps paint the Yiga clan as a real threat. Master the Orb is like a bigger, better version of the Water Guides or Support and Guidance. To open the monk's room, a Sheikah orb must be guided down into a pedestal. To do this, Link needs to move metal plates with magnesis to stop it falling off, stand on a switch to reverse the direction of a conveyor belt, stop the ball from falling off a seesaw, use Cryonis to guide it along a waterfall, then bounce it with a spring over to its hole. Setting up the ball's path as it rolls down is really satisfying, and it's definitely the best example of this kind of shrine in the game. The Shora Ha shrine is found near Goron City, and must be reached by travelling on minecart rails above a lake of lava. Inside is Blue Flame, a fantastic mini dungeon where, in order to progress, Link needs to light various torches with blue fire. There are platforming challenges to reach some torches, alongside some really fun puzzles, like shooting arrows through the fire to light other torches, or lighting multiple torches at once to prevent water spouts from extinguishing them. It's one of the longest shrines in the game, and slowly working your way through it feels like you're playing a classic Zelda mini-dungeon. The puzzles get increasingly more elaborate as you progress and as you figure it out. It's just great, and I wish more of the game's shrines were in this vein. Just like Blue Flame, Trial of Power introduces its central mechanic, using giant stone balls to smash open heavy doors, then presents the player with progressively more difficult puzzles built around it. Also like Blue Flame, it's really long, but it doesn't outstay its welcome. The puzzles are satisfying the whole way through, making it one of my favourites. Just north of the Korok Forest are the mysterious Typhlo Ruins, an ancient Zonai monument permanently shrouded in complete darkness. Link enters and explores the pitch-black ruins by torchlight, or whatever other light source the player can come up with, following strange bird statues until he finds an ancient orb pedestal. Its orb is just ahead, but there's a problem. It's hanging from a sleeping Hinox's neck. Fighting a massive Cyclops that you can't really see is, of course, absolutely terrifying, and coupled with the brilliantly eerie atmosphere of Typhlo Ruins, it's enough to put Shrine Keto Wawai up in S tier. The Four Winds is another Revali themed shrine with a really awesome setup. There's a rotating tower floating in a bottomless pit, and around it, platforms with fans providing updrafts. Link's goal is to hit 4 switches hidden in the tower. each activating one of the fans on the top of the tower which allow him to climb it. One behind a bombable wall, one behind a door that only opens when the wind blows a propeller outside, one behind a metal cage, and one all the way up on the inside of the tower. It's such a cool concept. It feels like you're storming a castle, and is one of the best shrines in the game. What else is there to say about Eventide Island that hasn't already been said? An island far off the southeastern coast of Hyrule, the entirety of Eventide is actually an elaborate trial. Upon arriving, Link loses all of his items, armor, weapons, even food, essentially resetting his entire progress and returning him almost to how he was when he first left the Shrine of Resurrection on the Great Plateau. The goal is to find 3 Sheikah orbs across the island and place them into their respective slots to summon the Blessing Shrine. But this is easier said than done. Each is guarded by groups of enemies, like groups of bokoblins, choo-choos, moblins, even a Hinox, which, again, must be dealt with only using the items Link can scavenge from the island. I didn't think that losing your entire progress could be so much fun, but Eventide Island is one of the absolute best parts of the game. On the shore of the icy Lake Kilsea in the Hebra region is a small wooden dock, from which Link can glimpse the blue lights of a Sheikah shrine through a gap in the cliffs. It's too tight for him to squeeze through, however, so he needs to find another way in, by bombing rocks on the other side of the lake to reveal updrafts of wind. From this vantage point, Link can spot a cave entrance on the side of the opposite cliff, lit by torches. A steep drop leads to the cave itself, where a path winds through a tight underground river and into a larger cavern where the Marka Ra shrine sits. Inside is Steady Thy Heart, an awesome little challenge that feels a lot like some classic 3D Zelda mini-dungeons, and is designed to surprise you and make you panic. Link needs to light a torch to open a gate, then cross a spiked roller above a pool of lava. Pressing a switch here opens the wall in front to reveal 4 Guardian Scouts, all with their sights locked on you, and after defeating them, a giant spiked ball smashes through a wall of boxes, and Link too, most likely. The final ascent to the monk's room is up a tight, steep ramp, and, of course, another spiked ball drops from the top and hurtles down the slope, requiring Link to face his fears, stand his ground, and use stasis to stop it in its tracks. It's my absolute favourite shrine in the game. I wish there were more caves in Breath of the Wild's Hyrule, and finding your way inside the mountain to access the shrine is just an incredible moment of exploration. Steady Thy Heart itself is a really fun mini dungeon that throws a whole bunch of surprises your way, and though it's not too long, it's more than enough to put Shrine Marka Ra up in S tier. Well, that's it. That's my complete ranking of Breath of the Wild's shrines in order. Thank you so much for watching through this insanely long video. I really appreciate it. Like I said at the beginning, this list is of course only my opinion, based on how much I enjoy the shrines, and your ranking probably looks completely different. Let me know what you agree and disagree on in the comments. If you like this video, leave a like, or subscribe if you haven't already for more Zelda content. Cheers guys, and I'll see you next time.